Hi, this is Duff, WA7BFN, and welcome to This is LICW, a look at what's new, noteworthy, and happening in the Long Island CW Club. For April 2025, LICW has a pretty active YL program, and it's being headed up by Ann KC9YL, right?
Yes, I do. We have a weekly meeting that we get together. We call it the open house. We meet Mondays in Zoom Room C at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I've been doing this now for about 4.5 years, whatever, since fall of 2025. So whatever, 2021, sorry, whatever that would be. Yeah. This originally started as a YL instructional class by Leanne, W4LEA, when LICW was still in its kind of like baby years, and Howard was a little concerned about how the YLs in general were going to be accepted into the group, just because it was just such a fast-growing entity. He wasn't sure what was going to happen, so kind of Leanne was willing to take the lead on that. So it was instructional only. I joined in about June, I think it might have been 2020. I had gone through CW Ops training already, so I had a little bit of the basics of CW, so I would take some of the other gals who were in sort of the same situation and go into a breakout room where Leanne would stay and just do the basics, learning, the letters. Eventually, the night got to be a bad scheduling night for her, so she switched her night. I kept it, I think it was Saturdays, and she switched to Sundays. Eventually, she moved out of state with her military husband, so I took both nights, Saturdays and Sundays. Wow. And that was June of 2021 when Howard had offered all the instructors a summer vacation, which I took, came back and kind of morphed it into, at that time, there were so many more instructional classes being offered. And the YLs that were in attendance to them were very comfortable in being in them. And I just said, let's come back as just an open house and we'll just have a discussion group. And whoever shows up, and we'll just talk about whatever needs to be talked about.
There you go. So lo and behold, how many folks are attending the classes at this point, Ann?
We're hitting close to 400 total YLs in the Long Island CW Club.
Amazing.
I've got usually about 10 to 12, I would say I've been averaging lately. So just kind of a nice group, small enough where we can all keep our mics open all the time and just talk about whatever we need to talk about, and then jump in whenever. We are kind of unique at we are just a discussion group only. So we'll talk about, on a typical night, I usually have a little kind of an organized PowerPoint ready just because it's a lot easier for me to organize my thoughts, and I have terrible handwriting. So then I can actually read what I prepared, and we'll talk about upcoming contests and event reminders, special events that are coming up. But we certainly bring that up. There's several gals that are building QCXs. There's several that build their own antennas. Certainly worthy of the conversation. It's just not something I'm particularly involved in myself. But yeah, we do a lot of talk about kit building, a lot of interest in quota. We have gals that will go out and do special events, or they have event stations where they'll go and activate for special events or during contests and things like that. So we talked about that as well.
That's so fun. So how many active folks do you have out of the whole thing? How many people are actually on the air at this point?
I would say everybody that comes on Monday night, pretty much, except the brand new beginners that don't have a key or oscillator or anything. I would say, the ones that do attend that are regulars certainly are very, very active on the air.
Oh, that's absolutely great. Why don't you reiterate what the classes are once again? Give me some times and Zooms, and we'll go from there.
Okay, it's on Monday night Zoom at 8 p.m. Eastern Time in Room C. And I do screen the people that come in. So Howard had wanted it to be YLs only. So we keep it to that. And it's just kind of there's some people might not understand that sometimes that it is being kind of considered a man's hobby, that women have difficulty getting into the group. They'll go to a field day and expect to be operating on the radios, and the guys that are there are expecting them to prepare the snacks and take care of the food. So they've gone to clubs and gone to local clubs and are not always made very welcome.
Yeah.
So that's something that we also try to do, is encourage and remind people that everybody isn't like that, and you can still be a very active member in the hobby. And you might have to go shopping around for a club that's a good fit you, or try a different night for a net. But and we promote the other Long Island CW Cup classes as well. We'll give recommendations. We'll talk about equipment. Some people might have questions about equipment. They might be somebody might have a key that they didn't really care for, so we'll talk about things, good things and bad things, about things that we have learned along the way. So try to do a lot of troubleshooting, cheerleading, just to kind of be kind of like a little support group for each other, and just encourage us to get active and get on the air.
That sounds great.
Okay, thanks. And one thing I wanted to mention too, everybody that does join gets a personal invitation from me, and I will give them a reminder of the Monday night class. I list the classes that are taught by YL in case they have a particular interest in any of that, and reminders that they need to watch the intro videos. And then we also have a WhatsApp channel. So Mallory's got the WhatsApp channel that's specifically for the building, and we've got just the general WhatsApp channel where people, it sort of started out as a focus on POTA, but it has kind of expanded. Yeah. So people are welcome to join that as well. And if they have a question, they can ask the question or get answers or whatever.
Great. Well, Ann, thank you so much for chatting, and good luck with the program over there. And hopefully we'll generate a few more members there for you.
All right. Good luck. Thank you.
And thank you. Well, do you remember Heath kits? Well, as it turns out, there are a number of kits out there on the marketplace to be built. And Mallory, as part of the YL program, KD5ZZU is getting together with other YLs to, guess what, build kits. Well, how did it go?
Got finished a few weeks ago building a QRP Labs QMX.
Ooh, those are cute.
Yeah, so it kind of started, I got into LICW about a year ago when I started learning code. I've been a ham for 20 years, but had been on basically a 20-year hiatus from doing anything on the air, and got back into it about a year ago, got my general, and then quickly decided that CW would be fun to learn. And so learned about LICW, joined, and then the YL group, which we meet sort of socially on Monday nights in LICW, has been a great source of kind of community building and bringing me back into the hobby after a long time away.
Right.
And so as we've grown in some of those friendships, about in the fall, a couple of us decided we wanted to try to do some kit building.
Oh.
And one among us, Lydiette, who I know KQ3Q is an instructor here, she had built the QCX Mini. And so she recommended, that we try it. We jump in, don't be afraid. I've had a little bit of experience building antennas. I knew basically how to solder, but I had never built a transceiver before. Certainly nothing as tight and complicated as the QMX.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, so a couple of us are building it. I was sort of the first one to finish, and then there's a couple other YLs. We're all supporting each other doing that kit.
So how did it turn out?
Well, it was very exciting that first time plugging it in. I was, first time doing a kit. So I was very careful, reading the instructions, doing all the continuity checks, going back and reading the instructions. So I was confident that I did it right.
Right.
But, you never know. So I actually had my husband, who is not a ham, he videoed me plugging it in for the first time so that I could share it with the gals who were all building it with. And sure enough, it didn't start smoking. And it turned on.
The magic smoke,
Right.
You gotta hang
it turned
on.
I loaded the firmware and it worked. And so tested it some in my backyard. And then last week just did my first POTA activation with it. So that was my first field test. I have the 20 through 10 meter, so the high bands version, and was able to get contacts on all 5 bands, which was my goal.
That is
so
cool.
Now it's my POTA rig, so I'm very happy with it.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. Well, I'm of the Heathkit generation, if you know what Heathkits were, okay? So my first station was Heathkit, and we did the whole line, everything from the linear amplifiers down to the major transceivers, and built those from kit form as well. And I know what you're going through.
Yes.
Now, have you expanded this to other folks as well, or kids involved, or anybody else getting involved in this?
I'm a mom. I have four young children, and from ages 2 through 9. And
Mm-hmm.
so my older boy, in particular, my 9-year-old, he was very interested watching me do this. So I did it
Ah.
about over a course of maybe 4 or 5 days, and I don't really
Mm-hmm.
have a workbench. I was using the edge of the kitchen counter,
Oh, sure.
so I also had to be sort of swift because it was getting in the way of where I normally prepare a lot of our meals. But they got to watch me sort of work on it, in the evenings
Mm-hmm.
when there wasn't as much chaos. And my older son was really interested. He said, "Mom, I
Right.
really want to learn how to solder." So now I think I need to get him a little soldering kit. But he was very interested to see it. And like I said, now I'm kind of in the mode. There's about four other YLs from LICW who are building it, and I'm kind of now in coach support mode. Like, you
Oh,
can do it,
great.
or
Oh, that's
watch this
great.
when you solder this. So it's really it's been really fun.
So any of the other YLs that maybe are in the club or maybe not even in the club, if they would be interested basically in some help or to get going with this thing, where would they contact you?
Yes. So my information's all good on QRZ, Kilo Delta 5 Zulu Zulu uniform at
Mm-hmm.
gmail.com.
Right.
And we'd love for any YLs interested in LICW. We have a really wonderful community, both of just socially and learning about ham radio and then also learning code. We have some
Sure.
YL practice sessions, all of which are courses available, as part of the course load. But any OMs out there, I know a lot of OMs talk about kits and, oh, I've had this kit for years and I've never built it. Let me just say, if I can do it, anybody can.
Sure.
Get your fingers out ready to wind toroids,
And
and just don't be afraid.
don't
Read
be
the
afraid.
directions and do it. Yep.
So how many you've got a specific class, I take it, for the YLs on LICW, I take it?
Yes, Monday nights, like I said, we have sort of a little bit more of a social and general
Mm-hmm.
ham radio. What have you been working on? What have you been doing? What
Okay.
contests have you done? And that's Monday nights. And then there's practice sessions that are sort of a YL only
Mm-hmm.
practice sessions that we do sending and receiving. Those are
Mm-hmm.
Tuesdays,
Tuesday. Okay.
led by Chantel, AA4SB, and then she
Mm-hmm.
also that's her Tuesday mornings, and depending on where you live, and then Sunday kind of late afternoons.
Okay. So
And then we
the
all sort of have kind of text groups going that have formed from this, just all that natural community
oh, this is
building, and
great.
all been thanks to
Yeah.
LICW.
So the social get together again is when?
It's Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern.
9 p.m. Eastern in a particular Zoom.
It is Zoom C,
Zoom
and that's
C.
facilitated by Ann KC9YL.
Perfect. All right. Well, hopefully we'll get a few other folks in there for you and see what
Yes.
happens. I think it's a
Well,
great
great.
program. What fun.
Yes, yes, we're enjoying it. We're
Good.
enjoying it.
And get out there and do that POTA. It sounds like fun for sure.
That's right. Getting on the air with your own equipment. Now my whole POTA kit everything is homemade. My QMX is
Perfect.
homemade. My NFET half wave is homemade, and my little set of paddles is 3D printed and homemade. So
What
that was my
fun.
ultimate goal, and that's what I have now.
I
So,
love it. Well, thank you so much. I do appreciate it, Mallory. Good luck with it.
yes.
And
Thank you, Doc.
hopefully we'll catch up with you somewhere down the line, I'm sure.
Sounds
If I
good.
get one of these kits, I may have to call you. That's for sure.
I'll do what I can.
Okay. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Duff.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Since it was introduced, the Morserino 32 has been a wildly popular keyer trainer and decoder and even a transceiver. And it's absolutely great for learning Morse code from everybody from a beginner to a high-speed pro. Unfortunately, the M32 has come to an end of life, and Harry Klein has taken on the task over there of leading the development in the new Morserino. So, how long has the Morserino been out there, Harry?
I think the Kickstarter was in 2018.
Okay, so been out for a few years anyway, about 6 years or thereabouts. And I guess, over 10,000 units out there in the field at this point?
Yeah, I think Willie was doing batches of 250, and I think he had 10,250 units sold.
Wow, isn't that amazing? It's been wildly popular and just a great little device out there for the Morserino 32. So, with that in mind, apparently it's come to end of life. Due to supply shortages or parts or just design, or why is it disappearing as it is?
Yeah, so Willie's Morserino is based around the Heltec ESP32 LoRa module version 2, and that one is deprecated now.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
there have been too many changes with that Heltec module in version 3, so it's not pin compatible with the PCB anymore that's being used in Morserino.
Well, it's unfortunate, but I can see where that goes. So, your job, I guess it were, is to come up with a new one. And is it still going to be known as Morserino, or in a kit form, or what all about that?
Yeah, so that has a bit of history to it. I was always amazed by the Morserino project. It was just that the form factor was a bit too large for my personal taste, because
Okay.
I tend to use it when I'm out hunting on the high stand, or when I'm commuting, or when I'm on a business trip.
Oh.
And it was always a pain for me to carry another big box with me.
Yeah.
And you couldn't fit it in the pocket, so you always needed a backpack or something to store it in.
Okay.
I was looking at options, what smaller hardware could run the Morserino code. Willy was quite wise when deciding to make this open source. So I was searching for different hardware platforms that could run the code. But this, was quite a quest, and I didn't very succeed, but I identified the M5 stack Core 2. It's a small ESP32 based embedded system with touchscreen and audio.
Wow.
But it was lacking in a lot of regards, like no headphone output, no rotary encoder, just a touchscreen. But that was the point with the proof of concept I was running on that.
Yeah.
I went to the Morserino groups and was starting a thread about future hardware and what the options would be to go forward.
So, at this particular point, is it at the finished point to get out there and distribute, or when do you expect that to happen?
Yeah, so there have been quite some obstacles on the path. First, like I said, the PCB is incompatible to the latest Heltec, and then there were some shortcomings in regards to audio. A lot of Morserino users were unhappy with the sound quality of the Morserino.
The beep beep, yep. Kind of a
I
buzz
did a
box,
lot of
yeah.
testing with different audio chipsets and using the I2S audio functionality of the ESP32, and generating a fine sine tone with an envelope to ramp up and ramp down, not cause any clicks, and have a nice sounding experience. Funny enough, just 2 months later, Adafruit Industries also adopted a similar codec for one of their products. So we could have saved a lot of time by waiting some more months, but we were not aware, and I guess we now have a nice combination of ESP32 S3, that's the latest variant, quite powerful, dual core, a fine Texas Instruments audio codec.
Wow.
And we also enhanced the battery charging. We now use a PowerPuff chip that can do native USB-C charging at 500 milliamps.
That makes a lot of sense too. So, with all the development going on, when do you expect it to hit the public and hit the owners and operators?
Yeah, that's quite an interesting question. So the latest prototype had a bit of a too small keep out area for the Wi-Fi antenna. So we did another prototype with proper keep out and rearranging a bit to make space for that keep out zone. It's really tight in regards to space on the PCB, because we wanted to keep the pocket form factor. So it should fit in a typical blue jeans or whatever trousers you're wearing. But yeah, we managed to reroute, and also one of the sponsors, a fellow ham from the States, he wanted LoRa functionality. And we are currently using the room module for the ESP S3, so that has no LoRa functionality. And in the end, the latest prototype has option to put a LoRa module on the back.
Which is really kind of fun. I've had a lot of fun with the original Morserino, contacting people across town on LoRa. It's crazy. It really works well.
So this is not yet tested. This is the last thing that needs to be sorted out. And we have Brian in the States who is helping a lot with development.
Right.
So he ran the latest prototype set of 5 that arrived this week at his doorstep, and we are currently testing all the changes and all the functionality. And if that is good, after maybe another week or so, we can order the final prototype run, which Willie will get one off to have a final approval from him that we are ready with the new department.
I think this is really exciting. A lot of fun. What, just out of curiosity, thumbnail it if you may, what improvements have you made basically as far as functionality is concerned? The original Morserino had all sorts of decoding, coding, so on and so forth. Have you added anything additionally, or is it pretty much the same functionality as the original?
It's not only the form factor. We now have a large 1.9-inch TFT. So it's much easier on the eyes, and fellow hams are not getting younger in some places, so it's good.
That's true.
The screen is user changeable, so it's plugged into the PCB. So if it breaks, you can replace it, and it's available pretty much everywhere for a few bucks.
That's great.
So that's a nice feature. It has a more powerful ESP32. That one has native USB, so you don't need to install any serial drivers or stuff like that. Any operating system comes with those USB drivers. We have ESD protection on the USB, which was not available with the Haltech modules.
Right.
We have the true side tone with envelope shaping. We support 16-bit audio samples, so you will have a nice success chime and an error sound and burp in the echo trainer. If you want, you can put your own MP3 files onto the flash.
Wow.
If you want custom sounds.
Yeah.
I was also testing readouts of the words in the English trainer, so we are a bit limited on space in the flash, but we can put English words for something like the most common 1,000 words or so onto the flash.
Yeah.
Then we have audio decoding via 16-bit DAC from the codec, so you don't need to adjust the audio levels in hardware like in the old Morserino.
Right.
We can use the automated gain control of the codec chip to adjust the audio level. Everything can be done in software.
Wow.
The codec also has a proper headphone driver, so you can run the most difficult headphones from that. And it has a much better speaker on board now, together with the codec. That's really nice audio if you don't want to use a headphone. Wow. So you have much faster charging via the PowerPuff chip with 500 milliamps from USB-C. We have an integrated battery holder for a 14500 forward lithium battery, so it will be much easier around the globe to source a proper battery for the Morserino. You have a resettable fuse, and the sleep power consumption is much better with that generation, so it only uses about 1 milliamp on sleep, so you could let it sleep for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And it uses about 100 milliamps in use, depending on the display brightness. So that's for hardware features. The PCB is fully populated, so you don't need to solder anything in. And it comes with a nice 3D printed case. We are still looking into case options, but 3D print will be the first variant. And that got integrated touch pedals. So you have the sensors case integrated and cannot lose them or cannot bend them when putting the Morserino pocket into your trousers.
Yeah. Interesting. It's almost like a Swiss Army knife in a box there for Morserino.
But there is also a lot of stuff happening on the software side. So Willie is currently working on ESP Now functionality, and that's basically what will replace LoRa for most of the Morserino users. You don't need to log into an access point. You can use Wi-Fi broadcast ESP Now protocol to let multiple Morserinos talk to each other. You will have the audio samples, as already said. Brian was working on Bluetooth keyboard support.
Oh, very good.
This is also compatible with things like V-Band. You have settings for that. The screen has a new font from Intel. It's designed to be much more readable on smaller displays. That is really looking great.
Right.
And the PowerPuff chip also gives us battery state signaling, so we know if it's charging or if it's completely charged, and we can use that to calibrate the battery level for the voltage reading. In the past, you had to use a multimeter and confirm the voltage of the battery and adjust it in the settings to have a good battery readout.
Wow.
In the future, we can auto-calibrate that with the fully charged and empty battery signals that we get from the PowerPuff chip.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of things that you can expect from the new Morserino.
Absolutely amazing. It sounds like you've really taken this to task there and put it together into one heck of a box. I'm looking forward to getting one and getting to use it. I think it just sounds very great. Well, Harry, good luck on the rollout, and it's just fantastic for sure, and I'm sure it's going to be received like the last one. Everybody's probably going to want to put one of those in, especially the size. I mean, just put it in your pocket. Away you go. Heck of a deal. Harry, thank you so much. We appreciate you chatting with us today.
Yeah, stay tuned. Thanks for having me, and wish you a nice day.
Denis, N2JJF, is a ex-Marine radio officer for the Merchant Marine. There's a lot of equipment, of course, in the radio room of, one of the ships and everything else over there, a lot of sophisticated equipment. However, there's one particular item hanging on the bulkhead that plays a very important part at the time, and that is the lonely radio room clock. You might think, okay, what's this all about? A wind-up clock. Well, what about it? What is with it, Denis?
The lowly clock just sits on the wall, but it does perform a very important function. Especially the clock face, to begin with, has a couple of different colors on there. It has 15 minutes and 45 minutes past the hour.
Okay.
Marked in red for 3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
What this means is that everybody worldwide for those 3 minutes stops and listens to the emergency frequency of 500 kilohertz.
Okay, so every 15 minutes or thereabouts to listen to emergency traffic.
15 to 18,
Okay.
3 minutes total, and then 45 minutes to 48 minutes a half an hour later.
That's interesting. So how did this all come about anyway? Just curious.
Yes, it all came about because, as you probably know, when the Titanic went down, there was a couple of ships very close by which had radio equipment, but since the Titanic went down at, I think it was after midnight,
Wow.
those radio operators were in bed. So
Right.
they had no way of knowing.
We got a problem.
Yeah,
Right.
a big problem. Following a conference, they decided that come up with a method to notify these operators who are off watch or who are asleep, to how to notify them. So they came up with this idea of when the ship gets the message from the captain that send out the SOS, the first thing that's sent out is actually 12 4-second dashes.
Okay.
And the ship's clock has markings on there to help you send that. The 4 seconds with the 1 second gap and then 4 seconds again. So that's a marking on the clock too.
Okay.
If the receiver on the ship then receives 4 consecutive timed 4-second dashes with a 1 second gap, it will ring the alarm in the radio officer's cabin and also on the bridge. So if the radio officer is, let's say, off watch during the day, the bridge personnel can notify him that there is a distress coming.
When was this implemented, just out of Denis?
I think it was, the Titanic went down in 1912, so it must have been a few years after that. I'm not quite sure of the date.
And is still functionary today, I take it, in some of the radio rooms?
Unfortunately, today that's no longer in use because that 500 kilohertz frequency has been shut down.
Right. Okay.
Been replaced by the Global Maritime Distress Safety System.
Okay, and what's
It's all
that?
satellite.
Okay, so it's all by satellite then at that particular point.
I think some ships have a backup HF that they can use, but the actual distress SOS is not used anymore in CW.
Okay.
Also on the clock is there's a green section. which is 30 minutes past the hour and on the hour for 3 minutes.
Gotcha.
That's the listening period or the silence period for or radio telephone, 2182 kilohertz.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which is usually monitored by the people on the bridge. The radio officer in the radio room never monitored 500, never monitored 2182.
Right.
It was only 500.
Now, you're an ex-Marine radio officer, I take it?
That is correct.
And how many years what did you do with that
I spent 14 years as a ship's radio officer, and then I saw it was coming to an end. It all finished. It probably all finished around the early 90s. I think it officially ended 1999, officially.
Interesting stuff. What a interesting history.
When ships were in the Caribbean, you get an awful lot of static.
Oh.
So you could easily get 4-second dash of static separated by a second. Wow. And then get another burst of static, and it would actually be enough to trigger the auto alarm on the ship.
So enough noise over there to hit the alarm, I take it. Yeah.
So sometimes in the Caribbean, you would be waking up in the middle of the night 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
So each time, of course, you had to go back in there, check it out, make sure it's not a genuine distress, and then reset the alarm again and go back to bed.
Yep, there you go.
But that was a bit of a nuisance. But when it comes to safety of life at sea, that was my main job, safety of life at sea.
Now, did you do any sending and receiving, I take it, as well, Dennis?
Oh, of course, yeah. All the traffic from our head office and from our agents all came on CW.
Okay.
There was very little radio telephone traffic.
Interesting.
95% CW.
I know a couple of the guys in classes over here are attempting to take their radio telegraph license, I guess.
Yeah.
So 20 words per minute solid for a minute, and then a heck of a doggone test, I guess, that they've got to pass.
That's right. It was funny when I did get my ticket, I was hired by the Marconi company in England. And as soon as I got my ticket, because there was a big shortage of radio officers at that time, 1970, I took the ferry from Ireland over to England and then a train down to London. And while you were in the manager's office, sitting around waiting to be interviewed, your name was actually called over the loudspeaker in CW.
Be darned.
Yeah.
You better be on top of it.
You better be listening. Otherwise, you'd be sitting there all day. So,
fascinating. That's for sure.
That's what he did back then. He called your name, he came in, and he told you, what ship you're going to go on, how long you're going to be away, and stuff like that. And
so forth like that.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Well, Dennis, thank you so much for chatting.
All right. Thanks again.
We will. Thanks, Dennis. Take care.
All right. Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Maritime Radio Historical Society, or MRHS, was formed in July of 1999. The date of the supposed last commercial Morse code transmission in the U.S. And what a couple of gentlemen had in mind as they visited the last transmitter site of KPH, they were amazed to find that it wasn't vandalized. The site said they were still intact. It was kind of a radio time capsule with the receivers still on and still maintaining watch on the Morse code channels. Interesting. Well, the mission became quite clear. They wanted to build an organization to repair, restore, and operate KPH as a way to honor the men and women who, for over 100 years, have made profession of radio telegraphy and one of honor and of skills. Well, all they had to do was convince the National Park Service, which they did. And not only was KPH back on the air, but so has KSM, KFS, and a K6KPH. And it was made possible through the efforts of dozens or more volunteers who make up the Maritime Radio Historical Society. And interestingly to note, the FCC still maintains the radio telegraph license. Interesting enough. Well, as you can imagine, the test involved some pretty archaic information and questioning and about equipment that, well, no longer basically is in existence. Well, kind of, sort of. So Pablo, WA6 RSV, is prepping for the commercial telegraphy test.
Well, this is the situation, and hello, Duff, and everybody listening. I appreciate you wasting your time listening to me, and but then again, it's your time. What makes this a little bit easier is that I got my extra class back in 1993, where when I had to pass the 20 word per minute test. So I don't have to be tested again on Morse code. So all I have to do is the FCC Element 1, which is pretty easy, 25 questions, and I aced that one.
Great.
And then the FCC Element 6, which is extremely archaic, obsolete, and very, very complicated. For example, a question, when a radio telephone transmitter is 100% modulated by sinusoidal waveforms, how much antenna current will be observed? Select one. 22.5% increase, 22.5 decrease, 12.25 increase. Who knows?
Boy, that takes you way back over there. I guess the question absolutely. I have with this, why are you subjecting yourself to this idiocy almost?
Well, because I collect federal licenses. So you can see, I have all the aviation certificates from flight engineer all the way to airline transport pilot with many type ratings. 757, 767.
Wow.
And well, anyway, I don't want to go into that. I even got the UAS, the unmanned aerial vehicle commercial license. Why? Because there's no need.
Because it's there. Yeah. Okay.
There. I got my FCC radio restricted for the airplane. I got all my ham radio. And this one became available. It's still in the books.
It's amazing. So I wonder how many people are actually taking this thing.
Well, I know a couple of other people are going for it, and there's only one use that you can use this certificate or this license.
Okay.
For it, and that's the station KPH on the West Coast. You will be able to operate that. They will allow you to operate on Morse code.
I'll be darned. It's amazing. So, what do you're just doing it for doing it and just saying that I've got it and I've done it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
I mean, I am a Morse code aficionado, and
of course.
I'd like to do as much as I can with Morse code, and why not have a certificate that says that I'm a commercial Morse code operator? Who knows? Maybe if the time tunnel becomes available, I may go back to the Titanic and be one of the operators.
Ding dong! I love it. Well, Pablo, good luck with it. I know you said you're going to be taking the next test over here this week, so good luck with that.
And it's going to be very complicated. The passing grade is 75%, so I'm going to try to do better than that and get 76%.
There you go. I like it. It sounds good. All right. Pablo, thanks so much. Hey, good luck, buddy, and we'll check for an update here later on.
Thank you, Duff. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye. If you'd like to learn a little more about the Maritime Historical Society, visit their website at radiomarine.org. The KPH Receive site is open for visitors every Saturday between 12 and 4, and it's located basically on Drake Boulevard in the Point Reyes National Seashore. Anyone who's competent in Morse code may, as they say, sit the circuit at KPH or K6 KPH and have their licenses endorsed to that effect. Kind of fun. This is LICW is produced by the informational services of the Long Island CW Club. Comments, questions may be made to WA7BFN at MSN.com. Thanks, everybody. Till next time, 73s.